Hello everyone. I think we're live. Finally. Technology. Okay. Um, so the setup is not the best. The only thing you're gonna miss, obviously, is my palette. You're not gonna see. I hope the lighting is good enough. And then let's just paint. So sorry about people who are on YouTube. They won't see this demo. Anyway, let's do this. Okay. So let's do a sketch. I I want to really simplify the process. So we're gonna start with a drawing. So I'm going to use a light brown to outline the ball and then the fruits. So what I do is that I place the size of the different elements. So I know how much room I have for the ball and the fruits. So that's really a basic composition. The ball is right in the center. So let's do a regular oval shape. I eyeball the back of the ball. I also eyeball the size of the fruits, so the apple doesn't end up next to the top of the canvas. It's a loose painting, so we're not looking at perfection. It looks like a ball. So I place the left side and then the right side here to make sure that it's symmetrical. Feel free to leave a comment, to say hi, to show me that you're watching, and then hopefully some of you paint at the same time. Here's a ball. I double check that it's a nice regular oval. It is centered. I have this much room on the left side and this much room on the right side. Enough room at the bottom here. Now let's place the fruits. There's a lot of red, so I'm going to use a medium color. Orange, not a light orange. Okay? And I'm going to place the lemon. So you can see that the edge of the lemon lines up with the edge of the ball. And then here, the pomegranate is inside the ball, so I'm placing that. The top of the pomegranate is slightly above the edge of the hidden rim. So I'm going to place it right there. And so I eyeball the size or the height of the pomegranate. It's about the same size as the apple. So I'm going to report this distance to here. The apple is slightly smaller, a little bit smaller, so that would be the top of the apple. The only thing I want to change, I was looking at the photo, I'm going to move the apple. You see that the stem is on this side, so I'm going to rotate the apple at this angle. So it's more dynamic instead of having the lemon, the orange, the lemon, and the apple all in the same way. So the apple will be at the same angle. That's the only thing I will change. Again, it doesn't have to be precise. I just want you to see the process, understand the process. As long as the fruits are about in proportion, you'll be just fine. All right. So now where to place the orange? Well, look, the orange cuts in half the bowl. So that's what the right side of the orange is going to be. So once I have that, I'm going to eyeball the size of each fruit, right? The left side of the lemon lines up with this curve of the, the orange, I'm sorry. The left side of the orange lines up with this curve of the ball. So it's going to be right there. That should give me a round shape here. Right? And then I'll do the same thing. The bottom of the lemon cuts in half the orange. So that's what the bottom is going to start. And then I'm going to draw like a curve. Right? I want a lighter yellow. And then since it's a round shape, not a perfect round shape, but round, I'm just going to draw it like a circle. All right. So now I can also draw a circle for the orange. Now that the height of everything, height, width, height, width, width, height, it's easy to draw all the fruits and they'll be in proportion. Circle, circle. The apple is different because we're going to move it from this angle to this angle, right? Which means that there'll be a gap between the lemon and the apple. At the height, it's another circle to draw. So if I move it, of course I could make it touch the lemon, but I think it's interesting to have this gap. Okay, and then you can see the rim of the ball. And who knows, I might decide that, well, after all, I want to hide this gap, so I can always move my apple. Here I'm trying to draw the circle, so it's about the same size as the pomegranate and the lemon. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want a gigantic, out of proportion apple. There you have it. Simple composition. I start with the oval for the ball, the top, the bottom. So here's like a smile, right? That's also how you could get the shape you want. What does it look like? An oval. What does it look like? A smile. After that, it's just 4 circles, the smaller one being the orange, and the other circles being about the same size. Slightly bigger for this one. So I'll take care of the table later, right? But to create a good depth, I think that I will place probably a table at this level. Okay. So it's behind the lemon and the apple. That would be something like that. But I'm going to focus on the color mixing. I will make this, to simplify, I'll make the ball white, solid. Painting glass is a different story. So we'll do that in the future. But I want to play with color mixing. So I hope you're following. I'm trying to go slow so you can paint at the same time, getting the right composition and shapes. All right, so let's place the pomegranate. That's the darkest color. I'm going to start with the dark colors so I can better adjust the light colors. As you can see, no, you don't see tonight, but I have on my palette titanium white, cadmium yellow, cadmium red, ultramarine blue, and burnt umber. So to simplify, I'm not trying to get the exact colors. Right? It's going to be reddish, dark pinkish, but I probably won't go into details. Right? Just so you can paint at the same time or later on, you can replicate the process and getting the colors easily. So I need the dark red. I'm going to mix with brown. In this case, burnt umber. There's actually a little bit of blue. So it's almost like a, purplish. But if you're just getting a dark red by mixing red and brown, you'll be fine. Understanding the process, I keep saying that, matters more than looking for perfection and getting the right colors. We're going to get a nice red, dark pink all over the circle to make it look like a pomegranate. It will read as a pomegranate, even if the colors aren't perfect or like on the reference photo. So I did a little bit of blue to give this purplish tone. I can't just go red and white and brown. Basically, I want you to play with the colors. So you can see, so you can try to feel how the paint works and control the mixing, the blending. And not worry so much about the getting the exact colors. So at this point, I'm going to paint the tip. I'm going to make the tip stick out. It will read better as a pomegranate. So the first goal is to cover the canvas, okay, with a reddish color, right? And then I'll do a second pass to paint more details or give it more dimension with more textures, shadows, and reflections. So that's good enough. I can place the reflection here better. That's too bright. It's going to look like a tomato. We don't want that. And if you can't get it right, well, hey, you can turn it into a tomato. That's fine with me, right? All right, next, the darkest color is the orange. So let's paint the dark side first. And then let's add yellow to make it lighter. So the light hits the top. So the top is lighter, and then the sides and the bottom are darker. That's why I'm adding a lighter orange. So light, medium, and dark orange give you this sphere effect. That's all we need to do. Okay, we can refine that later. Again, trying to control the paint is more important than getting the right colors or shapes and whatnot. All right, next, let's paint the apple. Paint the reddish peach sides. So it's a dull red. To do that, I'm adding a little bit of brown to my pink. By the way, feel free to keep the apple in the same position, okay? If you don't want to deal with rotating and figure out where's the hole, where's the stem, that's perfectly fine. We keep everything loose and simple. So right, now I rinse my brush because I want to paint the yellow. We done the dark color, the medium, and now it's a very light yellow. So a lot of white and a little bit of yellow. That's even too yellow. So I'm adding more white. That's a better yellow here. There's a little bit of orange. And let's finish with light yellow on this side. And I think I can place the hole. So just this little line here to suggest the hole. Now let's paint the lemon. Here there's a little bit of orange because that's the reflection of the red of the apple, reflecting on the yellow lemon. Too light. So let's turn down the yellow with some brown a little bit. That's better. And then I'm going to continue with just yellow. That's very bright. So on your screen, I'm sure the colors are off, but you get the idea. I think I'm going to keep adding one pinch of brown to dull the yellow. Okay. I'm not using really white because that would make the yellow too bright. But adding brown to the yellow to give a more natural looking color. Yeah. Of course, I'm using more yellow than brown. There's some greenish there, but if you don't see it, that's fine. Just don't paint a solid color, like a yellow circle. I'm adding a little bit of brown, so it's going to model more of the lemon. Give it more dimension and roundness. So I'm going to show a little bit more the green to make it more interesting on the screen. But it's very subtle. All right, so now let's add more white, and then let's finish the brightest part here. I need to let this dry. The yellow is always a transparent color. So I need to let this dry so I can cover the rim. You probably see you see the rim through, right? So you could either paint white to cover the rim, let it dry, and paint yellow on top. I like to mix both colors. The paint dries fast, so I can already cover the rim. So what you probably don't see is that there's actually a small orange, actually mandarins. I keep saying orange, but mandarins in the back, on the rim of the resting on the rim of the bowl, and then there are more at the very bottom. So since it's there, I might as well paint it, and I think it's better than leaving this gap. All right. So because it's behind, the light source doesn't hit the background, so it's going to be a darker orange. And then I will paint a very dark orange here and at the bottom. Not to mention that in my version, it's not a transparent ball. It's white, so there's no light going through, hitting the fruits at the bottom of the bowl. So I'm just adding brown to my orange. So speaking of shadow, let's paint inside the bowl. Right? We're going to paint gray. Do you remember how to make gray? The ball being white, the shadow is grayish. Again, I simplify, right? I paint grayish, not a solid color, but it doesn't have to be perfect gray. Because it's transparent here, you don't see the shadow on the rim, but I want to place it to create a nice contrast. Now, speaking of gray, let's paint the bottom. The lighting is not harsh, so I'm not going to paint a very dark gray. And then a lighter gray. The light doesn't reach the bottom, so it can't be just white. The light source being from the left, it's lighter on this side, and there's a light shadow on this side. Now the rim casts a shadow, so this part has to be slightly darker. It's a light gray to show it's a wide rim. All right. I hope I'm not going too fast. And now let's just paint white the rim. The rim is wide. It's going to be slightly darker. To connect with the shadow here. And then of course the back of the rim is also a dark gray. So because we started late, I think I'm going to I might stop right there. I just want to show you of course the composition, getting the right shapes and proportions. Okay. The oval, the smile, 4 circles, right? How to cover the canvas, play with the first colors on the first pass. And also because you don't see what I'm doing on my palette, I will tape the second part of this video on YouTube, so you'll have a better quality. You'll see what I do on my palette and how the second pass is done, right? But this gives you an idea. What I can do before we finish is just for you to have an idea of the, how can I say, the mood, maybe. I think I'm going to keep the background gray. Using a bigger brush. Why gray? Because gray will allow the will make the fruit stand out. Like so. So what you're seeing is it's called the ugly stage. Sometimes it's discouraging because you don't know how it's going to turn out. But I keep saying, trust the process. Trust the process, and you're going to end up with a beautiful still life. All right. So this first pass, the way I paint, sets the tone. Okay, I can already see that the background makes the fruit stand out. And then actually I'm tempted to play with purple because we haven't practiced. We tried blue, but we haven't practiced purple or violet. They'll complement nicely all these yellow, orange, red, warm tones, right? There's room for creativity, and I want to experiment that. So I'm going to paint a light purple. In case it doesn't work or I don't like it, I can always cover it with a different color. So it's very light. You don't see my palette. But okay, that works. I don't know if I'm going to make it darker or keep it pale like that. It's going to depend on how the fruits stand out. Again, maybe I won't like it because now I see that this might compete with the pomegranate. So if I don't like it, I will either paint a darker purple or cover it with a completely different color, or maybe just white. Or I'll go back to the brown table that you've been painting. All this time, right? And we'll practice again textures and colors. So here there's the shadow of the ball. So hopefully I'll be able to fix my device that stopped working, the video capture device. And then I can tape how I finish this painting. With a, so you have a good quality, picture quality. And so you can see my my palette. But you'll get a video no matter what. So get to see how the painting is done from A to Z. So it's a lot of pinkish color. I think it's gonna compete with the fruits, even though the ball makes them stand out, the background makes it stand out. I'm tempted to try a darker purple. We'll see what happens. If I don't like it, you'll see on the video. If I don't like it, I'll change the color. All right. Well, sorry about the technical issues. Thanks for watching, and then I will see you soon. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.